Hi, everyone. Welcome to Rebel Soul Stories. This is Shannon McAllister, your host. I am a coach on a mission to empower women to unleash their rebel soul and find their power and light within. And today I have actually a really good friend, Miss Shelby, who we actually went to high school together and played soccer on the same team. Blue Steel, I think, right? And broom hockey when we used to
Right.
vacuum
Let's
light.
not, yeah. I was gonna say, let's not talk about how many years ago that was, though.
No, no, we will not.
What was that, like 5 years ago?
Yes, 5 years ago, high school.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I'll kick it over to you,
But
Shelby, to
yeah,
introduce yourself.
yes, thank you for having me. I was so excited when you reached out. We haven't chatted forever, but you've always been such a kind and sweet person. And when I looked at your site, I was like, wow, she's doing big things. I'm proud of you, girl. Like, and I was honored that you asked me to come on and chat. So, yeah, I'm Shelby. I grew up on the Georgetown Hill up here in Northern California, and I still live in Northern California with my husband, and we have a nice country home, and yeah, 5 kiddos. So I'm a teacher, and that's me.
Amazing. And so we'll jump into the interview questions. Where were you at before going on your soul journey? How were you feeling? What was your lifestyle like?
Yeah, so I was kind of putting some thought in today, thinking about kind of what has shaped my life, and for me, a lot of it has been like based around kind of my journey with infertility. And I was thinking back to the very beginning, and I don't know, I've had a very blessed life. I have a very strong family unit. And I was kind of raised with mentality that you just put in the hard work, you make good choices, and then whatever you want will come. And along the way, God has really, blessed me with good friends. I was able to get into the college I wanted. Right after college, I was able to get a teaching job, like right away. And that was back in, gosh, 2007 when nobody could get a job. I interviewed, yeah, so it was just so fortunate. So I really along the way, it just kind of was like, okay, if I work hard, then, it'll be given to me. And I think that was kind of my mindset going through life, for a long time. And it kind of hit the point where I was like, oh, sometimes things don't work out. And so I was living my life kind of like, you just work hard, you get it, and then on to the next thing. And I had like a very like confident, but maybe even a little bit like arrogant type personality. And I kind of look back and I was like, wow, like a lot of growing left to do at that point. Like if I saw somebody who was struggling, I didn't really have like as much compassion as I should have. I was just like, what were the choices that they're making to be in that spot?
Yeah.
So it's kind of been, like I said, in that mindset that just try harder, it will come to you. And that's kind of how my like early 20s mindset was.
Awesome. And so what really kick-started your soul journey?
So kind of along the way, I got my teaching job. I met my husband, and he's a great guy. Once again, I was blessed with a nice Christian man. And my sister Kels got married about the same time. We actually got married 2 months apart. And kind of backstory, she's my best friend. We're 2 years apart. Like, so kind of through life, it was always the joke, like, we're going to do everything together. And
You did.
yeah, and we really did. Like I said, we even got married a couple months apart. And she ended up getting surprise pregnant with her first daughter about a year into their marriage. And so then I was like, hey, Garv, let's have a baby. Like, me and Kels got to be pregnant at the same time.
Yeah.
And so then we started trying, and just nothing happened. I mean, it was hard because I was just like, okay, super positive first. It was kind of like that first month, second month, third month. So now we're like, almost 3 years into this like process, and it's so disheartening. Because like I said, I always thought like, just try something new. So I mean, I was trying everything under the sun, listening to everybody's opinions about things, going to the doctors, and nothing was really working. It was just so it was hard because they were always just like, I'm going to be pregnant with my sister, and she got pregnant once, she got pregnant twice, and she got pregnant on her third time. And so there was really a hard time for me to just be trying my hardest and giving it my all, and God say no, because I hadn't had that in my life, and it was an eye opener to me that sometimes things are out of your control. It was, yeah, it
And
was,
God had
it was
different plans for you.
God had different, exactly, and it's I think he kind of like, not that he like put me in my place, but it really shook me like to my core, that changed my perspective on life. And it was this big struggle. So that's kind of when my shift about who I was. I went from being confident, just try harder, like I said, maybe not having the care that I should for other people, to like, geez, sometimes you're just put into these bad situations that have no control over. And so really, yeah, just like I said, changed my whole thought on everything.
Yeah. And so for you, when did you kind of like, I guess, shift and accept it, and move forward with, and kind of move through that tough time and the challenging time?
Yeah, so it really was like, it took a lot of years. I mean, it probably, I still, have days where I struggle with it, but I think it was a whole process. Anybody who's gone through infertility will tell you this. We had kind of 3 years of just trying fertility drugs. And then I decided to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, like maybe we need to kind of change our mindset right now, like stop hitting a brick wall. And I was so emotionally depleted, because basically every month feels like a miscarriage, because you're just so hopeful. Your body's on so many drugs, and every month you're just let down. So there's like that excitement for 2 weeks, and there's that letdown. And so finally I said, I can't do this anymore. I had to stop. And I had always had a heart for like foster care and adoption from the beginning. So I said, you know what, let's stop. Let's look into doing foster care for a while. Kind of, get the focus off of like, because it was just eating at me. And so we started foster care. We were, gosh, not even done with their paperwork. We were placed with two sweet little girls. They were 1 and 3, absolutely precious. And those two girlies, it ended up leading to, so we had them for about 2 years, and then it led to adoption. So during that time, we were still trying and still doing fertility drugs. But what it wasn't necessarily like, I don't know, we were kind of just was hoping it would happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were like super like on it. So it was kind of like a break slash, taking our mind off of it. And of course, everybody said, oh, if you just don't think about it, then you'll get pregnant, or you just adopt, you'll get pregnant. So there's all those things in your head.
Right.
Um, and so we're kind of like, okay, let's stop the rat race. Let's change. And so we had a beautiful experience with our girls. We went through the foster care adopts. And after that point, I was kind of felt strong enough and ready enough to say, hey, let's give it another go. So we talked to our doctor. And at that point, we had done all of the drugs that I possibly could. And I went through a bunch of surgeries. And now they were saying there's nothing wrong with my body now after all the surgeries and drugs. And so they said, we don't know why. So my doctor said the only option now is like IVF. So doing in vitro. So I said, okay. So we decided to take out a large sum of money. And we started that process. And actually, so we did that for another couple years. We did 4 rounds of IVF. So like I said, thousands of dollars later, all that heartbreak. There was times where we'd be pregnant for 4 months, and then they would miscarry. There was times where it wouldn't even take at all. And it was like that. It was kind of they're back on the road and back on that up and down sadness again. And I started feeling defeated again. And at that point I told Garvey, I said, okay, like, do we just need to like give in? But we had 2 embryos left. And so I don't know, I felt that struggle as well, like as far as ethically, like, is it okay to like toss like embryos? Um, should we just try one more time? Could I handle one more time? Because I really felt very, I was depressed. Like it was a lot. So I wasn't sure if I could handle like another round of IVF. And So we decided to take a little step back again, and we decided to open up to foster care again. And so we kind of opened up, started the process, and with the girls, we had gotten it very fast. And then once we started the process again, like we didn't get a call for a while, like months and months. And so it was kind of a weird waiting period. And at that time, our family ended up surprising us with Kelsey. Well, Kelsey came to me and she said, would you consider surrogacy? So that's my best friend's sister. And she said, would you consider surrogacy, with your last embryos? And I don't know, I just hadn't thought about it because it's just so very expensive. And I just wouldn't think of like asking my sister. So, at this point, she has 3 teeny children. And it was just like, really, I said, well, I don't know. I don't think we can afford to do something like that. And she said, you know what, like, I've talked to all the siblings, I've talked to mom and dad, and we'd like to, to help you guys and gift you guys. Yeah. It was, yeah, it still is one of the biggest gifts that anyone has ever offered. And so at first I was, I talked to Garvey and we said, we can't, it just feels selfish to like be just throwing money at something. But then Kelsey, she was like, Shelby, like, are you going to feel like at peace? Are you going to feel like you did everything if you don't try this? Is this, she's like, I will do this for you. She's like, my body is a baby making machine. Like she popped out 3 kids, like they were, under a year, like they're like a year and then a year and a half, like really fast. She's like, I'm fertile Myrtle. She's like, she's like, if anybody can carry this baby, she's like, I'll carry it for you. Yeah. So just so kind. So like I said, it was such a surprise. All of a sudden, like, I was like, I don't know. I still was saying like, I don't know. I don't think I can do this. And then my phone just starts beeping with all this money coming into our accounts. And Shannon, like, we're not super generous. We're not, talking about little money. It's like people are giving, like even my sister Ken's, like, she didn't have a lot of money at that time. And everybody was just being so generous and saying like, we support you, like we want this to happen. And that was a real aha moment for me, because the whole time you feel like you kind of are burdening people, because now we had been on this journey for 6 years. And I felt people, not like they weren't getting tired of it, but I felt like every month I had to like say like, hey, it didn't work. And you think about that, 6 times 12, that's how many months like I was having to like tell people that it's not working over and over again. And I just felt like it was kind of like became like a poor me story where I didn't want to like share anymore. And for all my family to like unsolicited like come together like that, really it meant so much. It was just a very like powerful, like, warming thing. I was like, okay, we're in this together. It's not just me and Garvey like trying to have a baby, like our whole family like wants to support us. And so we went ahead and like started the surrogacy process. And during this time, we get a call from the foster agency that they had three kids that needed emergency placement. Definitely was not good timing, and definitely was like they were the same ages as our kiddos. So they were, so we had Sophia and Kennedy were 5 and 3 at that time. I guess 4 and 3, because Sophia was almost 5. And then these kids were 5, 2, and 2. So I called Garv and I said, what do you think? And he's like, I don't know, babe, like it's up to you though. And I said, and I know I just really had a good feeling that we needed to say yes. And we had actually said no to like 3 placement calls before this, but there was something, I don't know, I just really felt led to this. There was something that I felt like I said, Garv, I feel like we need to say yes, like to these 3 kids. They needed spots. They called us on Friday afternoon. They were going to be there on Tuesday. And so I said, okay, let's do it. So it was busy time with surrogacy stuff, but I felt that, the call to do it. So yeah, they joined our household and we started, so we had, 5 kids under 5. Like it was wild and crazy. And I was, emotionally pulled all different ways.
Oh, I bet.
That was the time I look back. I was like, I don't even really remember that time. I feel like it was just like a big blackout months.
Like, yeah, how did you even get through that? Like, I feel like that's a lot emotionally, and then like taking on kiddos.
It was, yeah, it was a lot, like, but just family came. So once again, family came around, helped, kept sending me Starbuckses. Such a gift. And so yeah, we kept, so I guess like, so yeah, at this time, two kiddos were adopted and three were, we were just fostering for the time that their plan for them at that time was reunification. So we were working like visits with mom once a week, and kind of like, so that was kind of neat to be a part of the process. I really had felt like they were going to be going back with mom. So we were kind of like part of that process. And then the surrogacy stuff went through, which is, I mean, that's a whole nother story. I guess part of it, we're lucky to be in California. I found out that it's illegal in a lot of states. And California is one of the few states that have actually legalized it and have like a process, I guess, paperwork for it. Because I guess a lot of fishy stuff had happened before where people won't give the baby up, or there's, because so basically, even if it's mine and Garvey's like embryo, once it's in Kelsey's body, it belongs to her. So we had to, yeah, so there's so much we learned along the way. So we had to fill out and pay for adoption paperwork for our own embryo for Kelsey.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot. We had to go to psych interviews. There was just so much stuff that went into it. And she ended up getting pregnant. So super exciting. And it was so sweet. She like surprised me. I knew she was like going to get the call. And I was so used to the process. Like I was so used to getting the call, like you're pregnant, you're not pregnant. And so I called her in the morning and I was like, did you get the call? What did they say? And she said, Shelby, just like, cause I was going over to her house later that day. And she said, Shelby, just come over and like, I'll tell you. And I said, yeah, I was like, yeah, I said, tell me now, like, tell me. And she's like, she sounded so like solemn. So I just started crying on the phone and I said, Kelsey, I just can't believe like this didn't work. And she said, what are you saying? I said, I can tell that you're not wanting to tell me over the phone what's happening. And then she's like, oh my gosh, Shelby. She's like, I wanted to surprise you. Like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, ah. So I went from like full on, like, it didn't work, to like excitement. I can't believe it. And so when I showed up, it was so sweet. She bought a shirt that said, like I prayed, he answered. And so it was just such a special, exciting moment. I couldn't believe it was happening. And I thought for sure, like, this is what a cool story. You know what I mean? Like we went through all of this, our family, like, came together. And in God's timing, like my best friend's sister would be carrying like my child. It felt so right. So beautiful. This is what like we had been waiting for. And then, gosh, it was about 3 months along. She ended up she went in to go get her blood drawn because they have you do that every few weeks. And then we found out that she was going to be miscarrying the baby. So just once again, like another, like, punch to the heart. Cause you're kind of like, God, like cause through it all, like everybody was like, Shelby, you're so positive. I don't know how you're like, continue to be positive and you're continuing to like, try this. And in reality, I was like, having many nights of tears, but overall, like I felt good about how I was handling it. I felt like I was trusting God and being positive. And it just started at that point. At first, I felt really mad that like, God, like I've continued to trust you and then you just continued to like slam the door in my face. Like, when's my time? So that was for me, so I first was just like, felt really defeated. But after that actually came, and that's where I guess, sorry, to switch over to what you were talking about, like, that was the moment for me. Like I said, at first I went through that grieving period of like, I cannot believe that, he wouldn't honor me for continuing to be faithful and honoring me for continuing to stay positive. But then all of a sudden there was like this shift and God gave me this peace. I hadn't had it for all those 7 years that we had been dealing with it. I was always having this hope, slash like always grasping for something new, grasping for like, what's the next treatment? And that was finally, I got this peace over me, that I'm not going to have a baby. And as hard as it was to like say out loud, it felt good to like, cause it felt good to say. It felt good to know, like, I had tried everything. I mean, we did the drugs. I went to natural doctors. We did IVF, and we did surrogacy. And it was at that point that I had to just kind of say, like, be okay with it.
Yeah.
And it felt good, because at that time, I mean, bless people's hearts. And anybody who deals with infertility knows this. Like, everybody had an opinion or thought for me, and no matter what I had gone through or what we had tried, they always said, "I know you're gonna get pregnant. I know you're gonna get pregnant." And I could never say, like, I'm not gonna get pregnant. Like, no, I mean, there was like, I just had to say, like, I know, I hope, like, oh yeah, there's something new to try. And it was at that moment that I felt the peace to say, if somebody ever asked me, like, do you want to have your own kids, or ask me about, like, having getting pregnant or things like that, I could say, like, I cannot get pregnant. And I guess, like, technically, until I hit menopause, it's still a possibility, because they say I have unexplained for infertility, which is even more frustrating. They don't know why.
God's gonna probably throw you a curveball, at least when you expect it.
Right. It's gonna be like 45. You're like, oh, it's a baby. um, right. So there's still a chance. I can't say it's like completely, but it was at the point where the surrogacy failed. I went through that grieving period, and then I felt such a sense of relief, to just be okay with that we're not going to have, like, our own biological children. And not that it's something that I don't struggle or think about, but it's something that's, like, wasn't controlling my life. I had been, for 7 years, I had been in this up and down battle, and it had really consumed, like, everything of who I was during that time. And finally I could be like, okay, I can move on. Like, I can focus on what's in front of me, and what was in front of me was 5 beautiful, amazing children who really needed me to be fully present. And I had kind of, been emotionally distanced, just because of all of the stuff always going on, in the back of my head. And so I finally was able to be like, okay, it's not going to happen. I tell people, like, we were unable to have children. I can't have children. We were, God has allowed us to be able to be a mother to these children, and I still have that fulfillment. So even though I wasn't able to, carry the kids, I definitely, love getting to be mom. And I think, that was the shift. And I think, kind of like, it really changed who I was, because it kind of, I think it helped me be a better, like, foster mama and a better mama, because I had gone through so much emotional struggle, that I don't want to say numb is the right word, but I used to be a very, like, confident, loud, like I said, maybe, like, I don't know, like, I would always share my opinion, just very, like, boisterous type person. And after all of it, I really learned to be a better listener. I definitely, like, more compassionate and sensitive to, like, other people's feelings. And I'm not as, like, emotionally, like, high. And that has been, like, this gift. I didn't even realize, because, bless my 5 kiddos heart, like, they came with a lot of struggles, and they're still, they have a lot of things that they're going to have to work through for a long time, and they get very emotionally hyped. And I'm able to, like, not always, trust me, but I'm able to stay, like, pretty calm and not get escalated with them. And I think, like, I really truly believe, like, that all of that time that I had to kind of go through and learn to, like, control my emotions, and when I felt like things weren't fair, when I was angry, has really helped me to be a good parent to kids who are struggling emotionally. Yeah, like, I really so I think that, like I said, numb's not the right word, but it has really, like, allowed me to, like, stay more even, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's what my kids need. And maybe I wouldn't have been, like, the parent that they needed if I hadn't gone through all those years of growth, like, for myself.
Yeah. It's almost your blessing in the lesson.
Right. Like, you grow through, like, those hard moments. And I think God really, like, he shook me hard. And he yeah, he really changed. Like I said, I'm more sensitive now. I can't even like count on my hands the times I had cried, like up until that point. Like my family said I was an infanticide because like so I was kind of like, like why are people crying? I cry like often now. Like I'm so sensitive. I see like a sad like cat video. I'm like, oh, like,
But I feel like, yeah, like to your point, I think it's
yeah.
the silver lining in the process is like now you are also able to relate to your kids who have gone through something challenging because you've now gone through something challenging.
Exactly. Like it's definitely like has made me more tender and more like aware of like how life affects people and how I need to not I need to be there to come alongside them and not, give judgment or um I don't know, or escalate with them or engage. Like it just has kind of helped me to, be more a person that is able to listen, a person that's able to comfort people. So there is so all of that, like God has softened my heart through like all of those struggles. And, as much as it, destroyed me, it also, changed me for the better in a lot of ways as well.
Beautiful. That was, I mean, I'm so proud of you, girl. Like I can only imagine like that's a lot to go through, but I mean you didn't give up and you kept trusting, and I feel like that's so important, is even on those like dark challenging days, it's like trusting and keep moving forward and keep trying, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I feel like God always has a plan, and sometimes we can't always see the bigger plan or the bigger view, but
Yeah.
on the other end.
That is like the biggest thing that too has come through this. And I always tell people like when you're in the trenches, it feels hopeless and dark. Like I I never could have imagined. I have such a, beautiful life now. And once again, I am like blessed. And when I was in that time, I felt so, like I was out of control. It felt so like disheartening, like, I was never going to get to be a mama. I was never going to experience like everything I had planned. And as a woman to not be able to get pregnant, I don't know, there's like a whole nother factor. Like it felt defeating because they said, oh, Garvey's fine. So there is that guilt I think we had talked about before.
Yeah.
But when you come on the outside, like now looking back, I said, of course, like all of this led me to be the person, that I needed to be today. But when you're in it, you don't see it. So that's like the hope I give to people is like, when you're in a hard time, like you don't see it, but there's always that light. It might be years, it might be 7 years down the road. But now I can look back and appreciate it.
Yes, so beautiful. Amazing. So we'll end with this last question. So what's up next for you and the kiddos and Garv?
Right. So we are, just right now we are in survival mode. With all this quarantine stuff, this has been a new adventure too. So I'm a teacher, so I'm working home virtually, and I was homeschooling 3 of my kids last year, and I had 2 in school. And so, but once they had to go virtual, I said, no way, Jose, like we're homeschooling everybody. But a huge shift because now I'm homeschooling, which is a full-time job. Like, especially as a teacher, like I don't want to jip my kids' own education.
Right.
But it's a lot of work because I have TKers, 2 kindergartners, and 2 second graders, and I'm enjoying it. It's so fun, but I am exhausted by time we're done with school at 12 usually, and then I have to still squeeze on my 8-hour day. So I'm busy. It's a lot, but overall, no complaints. So it's kind of right now I'm just like, okay, get through. And I think that's how a lot of people are in quarantine. You just gotta make it work right now. It is. Yes, and I think like on the positive notes, we moved into some property about 3 years ago. It's been so fun doing projects, and I'm grateful to have this piece of land. So we have about 3 acres, and I love it. Our kids can run in their underwear, play in the mud, like like try not to step on star thistle, like
Kids.
Right? They can just have a blast. And I love seeing them have it. And me and my husband love doing yard work projects together. So I think our next kind of just staying positive and trying to enjoy like making our property what we want it to be. And raising our kids like on a country piece of property is my dream come true.
It's so amazing. I know I'm like really fiending to buy a farm as well right now. It's like the
You
big,
guys should head back up north.
right?
Join in the crazy. I'm sure your mom would like that.
My mom would love that. We'd be a lot closer.
For sure. I love your mom. She is the sweetest. So I'm sure she would appreciate to have you up here.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Seriously, like sharing your story and, your positivity and, working through challenges, like, and just trying to see that light within, even when you're in the trenches and, getting to the other side and looking back and kind of seeing why you may have gone through something. And we might not always get the why until later on, but there is always a lesson even in those challenging dark times. So
Yeah, most definitely.
well, it was such a privilege to have you on, and that was it for today, and we'll have another episode next Sunday.
Bye.